Dennis Cox and Chris Lee about to dig in the crate, so turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. Yeah, we do it for the culture, home of the greats, and in Carolina hood from the culture state. Chris Lee and Dennis Cox about to dig in the crate, so turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. Yeah.
You look at my face, you listen to my voice, see how crazy my hair looks right now, see that I haven't shaved. This is me not shaving in a week.
Oh, see, that's me shaving after I shaved.
That means that me and my wife just had a baby.
Yes.
I've barely been sleeping. And now I'm up early in the morning doing this podcast with Dennis so we can make sure we get our weekly podcast in for you guys on the Culture State, because we started this and we're going to keep going. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Chris Lee. That's my guy, Dennis Cox.
Well, first, congratulations. In all honesty, I know you've been waiting for your second child to be coming really at any moment, and she finally, I won't say it, but she finally arrived this past weekend. So congratulations. But real quick, like you mentioned, we do this every week. You can find it right here on YouTube. So just hammer that subscribe button. You can follow us. All right. That way you don't miss any episodes. You also catch us on WRLSportsFan.com, WRL Sports Plus TV, 8 o'clock Wednesday nights. You can watch us. But congrats, in all honesty, congratulations. I'll be honest. On Saturday, when you said, "Hey, things are happening," and I had Culture State Saturday, or live show we have on Saturdays from 10 to noon, I had to do it by myself, and I was like, "This is the first time I'm doing anything Culture State without Chris."
Yeah.
It was my thug tier this week, doing a show without you.
Yeah, man.
But I couldn't be happier for you.
On the week that Christian McCaffrey was traded too, so that means that means something. But no, it was crazy because things didn't go the way that we thought they were going to go. So and that might sound worse than what it is to the people in the audience. So I'll explain.
Yeah.
Okay, so my wife's actual due date was October 28th. You could be listening to this on October 28th.
Yeah.
Watching it. But there was a date that was set maybe 3-4 months ago that, hey, if she's not here by October 21st, that is the date for you guys to come in, and we will have a C-section and we'll take her out that day. So we kind of always knew that was the drop date. We get to that day, the day before they schedule us. They say, hey, come in at 11:30 in the morning. And then everything should be happening around 2:00 in the afternoon. Cool. Yeah, that's what's up. We can do that.
Deal.
We get in at 11:30 in the morning, and we're waiting, and then a young lady comes in after us, and then her name is called before us, and she only sat down for 15 minutes, and we're like, okay. Then another young lady comes in, also pregnant. She probably sits down for about 20 minutes. She's called before us. And we're like, okay. We're sitting down there in the waiting room for an hour and 45 minutes before someone comes to acknowledge us to say, hey, we're having some emergency C-sections today. The OR is a little busy. This is going to take a little longer than normal, but we'll get you back as soon as possible. Like, oh, that would have been good to know when we checked in.
Yeah.
So that maybe we could go, do other things. My wife had been, when you get surgery, you're not supposed to eat or drink or whatever ahead of time for a long time. So she stopped eating like 7:00 p.m. the day before, stopped drinking at 10:00 in the morning. Maybe we could have gone and gotten, a bottle of water for her. I could have gotten something to eat, some lunch or whatever. Because I'm thinking, if a baby is going to be born around 2, maybe around 5, I'll be free enough to go get some dinner.
Yeah. Well, if you're planning based off that time. Plus, you have another daughter, and I'm sure people are watching her too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's all that you have to take into consideration.
So we finally get back there and basically into the triage area, and that's where we wait the longest. And we're there probably until right around 8:00 p.m. and still no word. Like there's not a lot of communication towards us as far as what's happening, when we'd be next and that type of thing. And it made me think, you know what? When my first daughter, Karis, when she was born, She was born on a Tuesday, and that's back when SmackDown was on a Tuesday. This is a Friday, and SmackDown is on. So I'm like, again, I'm in the hospital watching SmackDown, waiting on this child to be born. I was like, this is very interesting. Like, it's just something that, I'd never even thought about before. It was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, SmackDown for both of my daughters. Cool.
You literally have formed a tag team.
They could form a tag team. It could be the SmackDown Women's Tag Team Champions. Man, I got something in my eye right now. And so I'm going to make this a lot shorter. Basically, we get to 11:45 p.m.
Jeez.
We were told to come in at 11:30 a.m. Not a lot of communication in between. Just that, there's some emergencies that have happened. We've been bumped because mom and baby are so healthy that other situations needed to be seen first. Okay. We get that. Like, it's still tough to wait that long on something that was scheduled in the morning, or when you're scheduled to come in the morning, and for something that was supposed to happen early afternoon. But still, it was one of those things where it's just like, even the communication throughout was kind of lacking, and we weren't really told much. Like so we were just kind of sitting there waiting that entire time until 11:45. It was like, okay, it's happening. We're going to take her back before somebody else bumps her. I'm like, God, okay. So my wife is getting prepped, and they take her back. I change into my little dad suit for the operating room, and we go in. And then at 12:23 a.m. on October 22nd, a whole 10 plus hours after she was supposed to be born, and 13 hours after we first got to the hospital, Cora Brielle was born, and all the times of me being upset and just everything, all that changed. Yeah. As soon as she was born, I saw her face, and all that was over.
I will say that you have posted some pictures at Chris Lee TV. You have posted some pictures of Cora. I remember you posted some pictures of you when you were born. Y'all look like twins, man. I was like, wait, hold on. I'm pretty sure this is the same baby.
Have you seen the movie Life?
Yeah, actually I have. Wait.
Ada Pappy.
Wow, Chris lost a movie.
Yeah, I watched the movie.
Hold on.
And I remembered something to reference.
I know. It's like, wait a second. Chris, okay, for those who don't know, Chris never watches movies, doesn't reference movies. I reference stuff all the time. Chris and I are 2 months apart in age, and he hasn't watched anything.
I wouldn't say anything. It's just that there's a lot of movies. I watched a lot of movies, I think, before the age of 22. And I just think that just in general, most movies are a waste of time. Wow. So I stopped watching movies a lot after I became an adult.
That's how it is.
But, I can reference things from, Coming to America. That's my favorite movie ever. Yeah. Just certain other, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. That's one of my favorite movies ever. Of course, Life is a funny movie. If I'm referencing something, it's probably going to be a comedy. So.
Yeah,
but yes, fair. No, she looks a lot like me. The difference is she has her mom's nose. Okay. But that face, that head, I mean, the way her head looks in the back right there, that little hump. Yeah, that's all me right there. That's all me. Yeah.
Well, in all seriousness, Cora, your wife, Carissa, everyone doing all right? Like how is everyone doing now? Post birth. How was everything going for you all? How are you all adjusting now? Especially because you have a 5-year-old daughter, too, who's in kindergarten. Yeah. How are you guys adjusting to, we also have a newborn in the house, too?
The adjustment is you don't sleep. And thank God for my mom. My mom is up here helping us out with some other things. So, it's made it easier as far as, taking care of Karis because she's still in kindergarten. She still needs to, get up early in the morning. So, it's been interesting because I think I forgot about this part. I remember the first week being tough, bringing my first daughter home, but some of it I think I chalked it up to this was just her and how she was. Yeah. So it was just like, this new kid, she'll probably be fine and all that. And not that they are different. My first daughter, Karis, literally, you couldn't put her down anywhere. You couldn't she just needed to be on her mom all the time, which was very stressful for her mom because she could barely get any sleep. This one, you could put her down and all that, but she's a little bit more fussy so far whenever she doesn't get her way, but then she will sleep on her own, which is something that Karis didn't do.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a difference. So I haven't had a consecutive, I would say 3.5 hours of sleep since before she was born. It's been, since she's been born, it's probably been like an hour here, 2.5 hours there, that type of thing. But we were finally sent home Sunday. Sunday was a glorious day because we got sent home, and in the hospital, I was like, I'm not going to be mad. With my daughter being here, I want to be happy. So I'm going to watch this Dallas Cowboys and Lions game. Did not pay attention to the Panthers game whatsoever. All of a sudden, I look at the score, and they are up 21-3. I'm like, what is happening? And so I flip over, and this is at the end of the game. I'm like, how did the Panthers dominate Tom Brady? I've gone back to watch a lot of it since, but it was just like, wait a second. The week that they traded Christian McCaffrey, and it made it so tough for me as a Panthers fan. And then all of a sudden, now they find a running game with, two complimentary running backs going back and forth and sharing the load. Wow. Novel concept. I've only been screaming this for forever. Also, I want to bring up something else, too, later on about that I think the Panthers missed out on. But they trade Christian McCaffrey, and all of a sudden, post-Panthers career, Christian McCaffrey is 0-1, and the Panthers are 1-0. Who would have thought that would have happened either? Like, that's crazy right there. And so, anyway.
San Francisco did play Kansas City. So,
yeah, Kansas City is definitely one of the best in the league, for sure.
And but let's be real, Tampa stinks.
Tampa isn't as good this year. And but I'm just shocked that the Panthers look so good, man.
It's amazing. The Panthers are one game out of the top of the division and also one game out of the first pick in the draft. So I know what a lot of fans are thinking, like, get that first pick. Like, get that first pick. Because
it feels like 2014 all over again.
It kind of does.
When they went 7-8-1 and won the NFC South.
You know what? Here's the thing. I know a lot of people, I said this the other day, so you watch, they're going to mess around, go 7-9-1, because, 17-game season. They're going to go 7-9-1, win the division, get blown out by like the Cowboys in the first round of the division, and then they're going to have to trade for Mac Jones because they're picking so low in the draft. They're going to trade for Mac Jones, try another reclamation project, and it's going to fall apart again. But as opposed to, obviously the players and the team are never going to do this, and the coaches are never going to do this, but try and get that first pick, at least one of the top 5, so you can draft a franchise quarterback. Because I brought this up on Saturday while you were tending to your newborn, that part of the Matt Rule 7-year plan, air quotes 7-year plan, because that's Jay-Z took 7 years to become an overnight sensation. It took him 7 years, to become an overnight sensation. We're gonna be just like Jay-Z. So I said part of that is
it's the Rock, baby.
So part of that is getting a top pick so you can draft a franchise quarterback, plus all that draft capital that you got for trading McCaffrey. Eventually, by 2026, those are going to be fourth-year players, hopefully fully developed, along with your young players that are going to be in their prime that you have on the team right now. Hey, year 7 of Matt Rule might actually look really, really good for the Carolina Panthers. And that's why I made that argument on Saturday. But now here's the thing. They're going to mess it around. They got rid of Matt Rule. Now they're going to screw it up.
Well, here's the part. I think no matter what happens this year, first off, for the fans' sake, you don't need to tank. You need to try to go out there and win as many games as possible. Because, just from a fan's perspective, this fan base is going through a lot since 2018. Let's go back and rewind what's happened since 2018. All right, you have your franchise quarterback, the person who I would say arguably was the first major sports figure to ever play in Charlotte, right? Now, you had others before him that may have been big, but Cam Newton was the first, I think, professional sports player in the state of North Carolina that played for a North Carolina team that made that particular team cool, where now people are fans and cheering for this particular team, and they've never been to the state. They don't live in the state. They have no ties to the state. Yeah. Cam Newton was the first to do that, right? Just like you have a lot of people who, I know a few people who are huge New England Patriots fans right now, they've been kind of quiet over the last 3 years. I wonder why. But they're huge New England Patriots fans have never been to Boston. Yeah. That's usually because of a transcendent star. Cam Newton was that. All of a sudden he gets hurt at your place, at your team, at Pittsburgh, off of a hit from TJ Watt. Never was the same after that. You go into 2019, of course, he's hurt once again, has the foot injury, but then also still dealing with the shoulder stuff. And then after that year, after 2018, you lose Thomas Davis. After 2019, you lose Greg Olsen. And then, Luke Kuechly retires out of nowhere. Then Ron Rivera, very much so beloved, probably the first major coach that was loved in the state of North Carolina and as far as a professional team. He's fired by David Tepper. So there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know what's going on. And Christian McCaffrey pretty much was that last domino to fall from that old regime, if you think about it. That was the last thing that Panthers fans had to hold on to.
Yeah, he's gone. That represents like a bridge. He was like a bridge. Yep.
And now that he's gone, that represents officially the end of that particular era. Even though it was already over, it really is the end of that. And the only real holdover is J.J. Jansen, the long snapper, who's been there for forever. But that's the team that a lot of North Carolinians fell in love with. And now there's nothing that's come from that team besides the one Super Bowl appearance that Christian wasn't a part of, but he was a part of the group a little bit after that. And it's hard to take. And you see that as far as the attendance. Attendance is not really good for Panthers games. David Tepper doesn't seem to be very beloved by the community. He has his weird ways. Matt Rule, definitely hated by the community. So the team needs something, an injection, but they also don't need to just lose, because then you're at risk of losing the actual fan base that's there to prop up the team.
Yeah, I know. I totally get what you're saying. I was just projecting, because I know a lot of fans. Here's the thing: there's a split, because fans are like, oh, like we're only one back of the division, go for it, right? Yeah. But there's some people who are like, even if we go for it, we're still not that great, and there's still pieces to be had, and having that top pick and all that stuff would actually go a long way to helping that. So the whole like tank thing, the whole the process, right? Thank you, Philadelphia 76ers, for that. So there's like a split in terms of that when regarding, which direction to go. So I don't know. Some people were really excited that the fact that, hey, we just beat, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it made Tom Brady look terrible. Granted, he's looked terrible all season, but I don't know. I could see fans being torn both ways regarding this. I'm thinking now of this team is already, in my opinion, they're not saying it, but they're already looking forward to the future. They already are. Yeah, so what's best for your future?
You can win a couple games, though, and still pick in the top 10. And that's the thing. I think sometimes that in different ways, people kind of take situations. They may take a loss, make the loss bigger than what it really is. They'll take a win and then make a win bigger than what it is. Yeah. That win doesn't mean that we're in the playoffs. No. Like, the NFC South is just bad right now. So that's why it looks like the Panthers are in a position to make the playoffs. But Tampa Bay will find their groove, and the NFC South will have one team in the playoffs, and I think that'll be Tampa Bay. I mean, really, do you trust Atlanta? Do you trust New Orleans? Do you trust the Panthers?
I don't trust anybody.
But we know that one team is going to make it, though. We know that one team is going to make it. And
I know.
The NFC East is going to be the division that's going to have more than one team make the playoffs from that particular division. So we're not going to be in that type of situation in the South. So at the end of the day, I think it's Tom Brady. It's the Bucs. They've been there before. They're going to get their mess together. We're only 7 games into the season. So I think people are making too much of this particular win. The Panthers will pick up a few more wins along the way, and they can still pick in the top 10, and there's still a good quarterback to be had in that top 10. So
yeah, well, you never know. Might be your guy, Hendon Hooker.
Man, that will be amazing if it is. Here's something that I want to bring up, though, back on this Panthers vibe. and this is something I wrote on WRLSportsFan.com. I don't know if it was a year ago. No, it wasn't a year ago. It was probably after the end of last season. So I would say maybe 8-9 months ago, maybe. And that was that for the future, the Carolina Panthers needed to get rid of Robbie Anderson.
Good move.
And move Christian McCaffrey over to your slot receiver. And that is his position. And you can use him as a chess piece if you needed to have him come out the backfield. You have that option, jet sweeps, other things like that, but he wouldn't be the main option coming out the backfield. He'd be somebody who could stretch defense on the edges. And I think that was actually a missed opportunity. Now, I don't know, clearly Christian McCaffrey wants to be a running back. And so I don't know if that was even a real discussion with the Panthers. But that's something that I really thought could have happened and he could still be on the team if he was that. If you think about it, the payday that a big top receiver would get is actually a lot more than what Christian McCaffrey got as a running back.
Yeah.
So if you moved him over as a wide receiver, you're actually getting him at a discount because you would have had him locked up for another 4 years after this season. Keep him on the team, still have his presence there and what he can do. He can still be the dump off option. He can stretch the defense, on 9 routes or whatever. But they did a good job getting Deontay Foreman and kind of Chuba Hubbard and do that. Have those guys coming out the backfield and sometimes Christian McCaffrey. And maybe the Panthers, they needed those extra picks, but maybe the Panthers are in a better position and maybe, Christian is still on the team right now. I want to see what you think about that.
I get what you're saying about that. I always envisioned him as, in terms of his role, in terms of what he's used, similar to the way that Deebo Samuel is used by ironically the 49ers, the team that McCaffrey got traded to, where primarily as a receiver, but they'll still throw him in the backfield, use him in some different ways. He's just kind of like that Swiss Army knife, if you want to use that old term. So I think just strictly making him a between the tackles type runner was not the best use of his skill set. Right. So I get what you're saying, though. I will say where I think the failures came in is, and what really necessitated the trade was the fact that you had 0 draft capital going into next season. Right. You have 4 picks. That was it, just 4. Right. And you needed to replenish that. Now, if you look over the next 2 drafts, you went from 9 picks to 14. Yeah. Okay. Which is what you should have. You should have a pick in every round, roughly. But if you look out in this upcoming draft, you have a 1, 2 2s, a 3, 2 4s, and a 5. So I think McCaffrey in the long run, it ended up helping. Plus, I mentioned this on Saturday as well, is that you do get his contract off the books. Because here's the thing, that even though the Panthers aren't that great, their salary cap situation is even worse. Like, it is a terrible
They're going to have to pay a few people. Brian Burns is going to be owed a lot of money.
Burns is going to be owed a lot. He's going to need a contract extension, which is fine. Which I'm very happy they have not traded him. But he's going to be owed a contract extension. But there's going to be dead cap hits for Robbie Anderson and Christian McCaffrey in 2023. McCaffrey's 18.3, Anderson's 9.7. So you're looking at $28 million dead cap hit between those two guys. Now you can
wait a second. They'll still get a dead cap hit even though they traded Christian away. Even though
you still have a dead cap hit for next year for both of those guys. So it's 18.3. Now McCaffrey's cap hit next season was looking at 19, just over 19. So technically you're actually saving $1 million on your salary cap, but there's still a dead cap hit of 18.3. Anderson's dead cap hit because of the terrible contract extension that they gave him is 9.7 million
off of one good season.
Yeah, exactly. It's just terrible. But hey, he was Matt Rule's guy. So those after 2023, that's money that's coming off the book. Shaq Thompson's in the final year of his contract. If you were to release him going into the final year of his deal, you'd save about $13 million, even though his cap hit next year is 24. So you could save money off that, or you could restructure his contract. Or if you trade him, you'll still have a little bit of a dead cap hit as well. But those guys' contracts are coming off the books in 2024.
Yeah.
And then also if you factor in, okay, if Shaq Thompson's coming off the books as well, you're looking at about $52 million between those three guys in 2024 that's going to be off your books. And if you have a rookie quarterback who would then be in his second year, if you were able to draft someone high, that's where you really can make hay. It's like, okay, now we can really go invest in some veteran pieces and sign some guys while you still have a quarterback on a rookie contract. Hence, that was part of my 7-year Matt Rule plan. That's why this could potentially work. So in the long run, yeah, I get that he's a great piece and all those things, but in 3 years, McCaffrey wasn't going to be part of your team anyway, in terms of like a key piece, just because of running backs, how they age and all that.
Well, that's also a part of the argument. If you wanted him to be a part of now, I don't disagree with the trade.
Yeah.
But if the idea more so behind what I was writing is, if you want to see this contract through, if you want to say that you signed him for a reason, you want to keep him here throughout the duration of that contract, then he needs to move over to wide receiver. Why can't he be the Wes Welker or Julian Edelman that also has these other skill sets for the Carolina Panthers, and you just put somebody else in at running back? Because let's just be honest, like, he's listed at 5'11", but I've been in the locker room enough for the Carolina Panthers to know that maybe he has 1 inch on me, and I'm 5'9".
Yeah,
he's bigger now than what he was when he came in the league, so he has gained weight, but he's 205 and 210 pounds. Mm-hmm. Okay. That is not somebody you want running in between the tackles to me every down. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not the guy I don't like to feel like I'm hating on the small man. And that more so comes from the wrestling world because, people my size have been, made it seem like we can't be top guys. But
don't wrestle no cruiserweight.
But, with that, like, you're going up against 300-pound men, 6'6", 300 pounds that are like literally trying to tear you apart. You don't need that guy. Like, put in somebody who's 6'1", 230 pounds who can take that every down. A Jonathan Stewart, size player. That's not Christian McCaffrey. He's smaller than that. And so that's why I always felt that maybe as a slot receiver who could sometimes run, if you wanted to see him through. Now, I do agree that was the right move to do if, just to get the draft capital, 1.
Yeah.
But 2, if there was no plans to moving him to wide receiver, that was the right move. You needed to move him. It hurts, but that was the right plan.
Yeah, it does. And I'm excited. I'm still rooting for him because I think it's good for him and his career that he's going to be in a place where I think he can really thrive.
Is he just going to be another one of those guys who just gets hurt and they're going to move off of him after a while?
Yeah, well, hopefully he stays healthy. That's the key. Hopefully he stays healthy. And I don't know. I think he's going to do well out there. I think Shanahan's probably already in his lab putting together all these schemes and stuff like that, because we actually saw him used in the slot and stuff in that little small package of plays that he had. That's how he was using them already. Like, he was in the slot with Kyle Juszczyk and other guys out there blocking for him, like on screenplays and stuff. So I think Shanahan's going to use him way differently than what McAdoo or Joe Brady did. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. But you know what? I'm happy for Christian. Panthers are moving forward. He's moving forward. And Chris, we move forward in this week, in this episode. And once again, I got to congratulate you.
Thank you so
Baby
much.
Baby Cora. Let's go.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? That's just for you, Christian.
Oh, that was,
thank you, guys.
That's how we were talking, like giving like a bye to the fans. Thanks for listening.
Yeah,
Thanks for
no.
watching.
That's not for the fans. That's for Christian. For the fans, love you, peace, and look at social media. I got all kinds of cute baby pictures and everything out there. So
me, I'm a stooge and just look like Matt Rule. He actually has adorable, cute baby pictures. So
but now that when you tweet about Panthers, like, you're getting more engagement from Panthers fans. It's
insane.
Yeah,
it's
great. It's great.
I love it though.
Yeah,
I just can't wait for the day fake Matt Rule shows up to a Panthers game. It's gonna happen.
We can't wait for that.
Yep.
A Thursday night game will be a good time. That is also happens to be my first day back at work. So maybe we can make that happen. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Culture State Podcast and watching us on YouTube and also on WRL Sports Fan or WRL Sports Plus, which also is on WRLSportsFan.com.
So you were right.
There's a lot of WRL sports happening here. And make sure you listen to us 10 to noon every Saturday morning on 99.9 The Fan. I'm going to go get some sleep, Dennis.
Go get it. You earned
Cox
it.
and Chris Lee about to dig in the crate, so turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. Yeah, we do it for the culture, home of the greats, in the Carolina hood from the culture state. Chris Lee and Dennis Cox about to dig in the crate, so turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. Yeah.